I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're uncovering a powerful book. It is called An Intriguing Heritage, the story of how the Dowdys and their kindred stood up to life. It's written by a wonderful author by the name of Harry Kendall Dowdy Jr. This powerful book weaves together remarkable stories of resilience, love, and perseverance in the face of adversity, showcasing the unique legacy of one family that defied social norms and created lasting impacts. From civil rights battles to historic family milestones, it is a profound look at heritage and identity that's both inspiring and educational. We're delighted to have this very powerful author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Crime Rights Agency for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below the interview. Harry, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thank you for joining me.
Good to be with you.
This is quite a story that your family has. Are these stories you knew about growing up, part of the folklore of the Dowdy family, or are they stories that you needed to research to find out more?
Some of both. When I was a youngster, my father branded my memory with stories about our family and the achievements. And I was very, very impressed. I never forgot those stories, and they were the seeds from which I grew this history. And so, yes, I knew some of the things, but not all.
And part of the history is breaking boundaries and charting new courses. For example, you have a Dowdy ancestor who married a mulatto woman after the Civil War, which obviously was, new ground at that point, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I call it an act of societal bravery
Hmm.
because in those days there was intermarriage, not intermarriage, but cohabitation between blacks and whites. But usually the white fathers never owned up to or adopted or claimed their black children,
Right.
whereas my great grandfather did. And that to me was very inspiring to see that tolerance and caring was an early hallmark of my family.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about when you were doing your research and going over your stories. Was there one that really stood out to you that you found truly remarkable or most intriguing or most unusual?
Yes, my grandfather, uh, he lived in South Carolina, and from about the late 1800s to 1920s, he acquired a 1,000 acre farm. And in those days in South Carolina, he was a mulatto, but still, considered black. It was most unusual achievement for a black man. Now he had a 1,000 acre farm. He hired scores of farmers to cultivate the land, and he not only provided them jobs but also housing. And it was just he was highly respected in the area by both races. In fact, in the late 1800s, he was selected to serve on a jury in South Carolina. That is most unusual. But
Exactly.
anyway, he stressed education, and he had 21 children by three wives,
Wow.
outliving the first two.
Hmm.
And he sent most of those to college.
Amazing.
He, he started a tradition of higher education in our family that still persists to this day.
Yeah. In that era, going to college in that era was quite rare. And it's not like today where it seems like everybody goes to college. It was really an exclusive thing to go to college and to have 21 children and to put them through college is a remarkable achievement, milestone, and accomplishment, no doubt. Part of your book also deals with the history of Black soldiers fighting in the American Revolutionary War. Tell us about that aspect of the story.
Well, I don't have too many details since stories like that have been unfortunately uh, not included in mainstream history. And this is why I pointed that out. I double check and triple check my sources. And it is true that now these were not servants, these were soldiers that fought in the American Revolutionary War. And it's very good to know that Black people were present at the founding of our nation, which is not known by too many people. This is
Exactly.
why I pointed this fact out.
Exactly, exactly. African Americans are the backbone of our country dating back to the Revolutionary War and even before. And I think that is a great aspect to point out for sure. Tell us a little bit about the college president in your family tree who was central to the Greensboro sit-ins.
Oh, my Uncle Lewis, he was quite a fellow gentleman. Uh, the city started there in Greensboro, North Carolina. He was president of the A&T College, which is a historically Black college. And it was the students from that college who started the sit-in movements there in Greensboro. And of course, the movement spilled over onto the campus. And there was quite a bit of turmoil and confusion. And he sort of stood at the center of all the commotions and the problems that were going on. He tried to cool heads, reason with both sides. He was just right in the middle of things,
Mm.
and he did a lot of reconciliation on both sides, and just what makes him stand out there. He's very well known, and they named a building after him on the campus. But
Wonderful.
yeah, he was invited to the White House, to Nixon's White House, when the king of at that time Spain, the Prince of Spain, visited the White House. The President Nixon invited him to be among the greeting guests.
Amazing. Amazing. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is all, boundary breaking actions on the part of your family members and have helped create a climate where we can have a Black president of the United States like Barack Obama and nearly the first Black female president of the United States in Kamala Harris.
Yes.
It's because of brave people in your family that push the boundaries and were not afraid to do such things, such as integrate an all-white school in the South. Tell us about that family member.
Yes, that was my mother. Rest her soul. She was quite a lady. I tell you, she never weighed more than 100 pounds and never raised her voice. But she had a quiet strength that everybody respected. She was a second grade teacher, taught me, my brother, and my sister, and I had to do homework. Homework was was my staple. But anyway, the white superintendent there wanted to integrate the school. This was during the beginning of the integration process, and she had a reputation of knowing how to get students to learn. She just had a natural affinity for it. And the principal, the white principal, knew about this, and he pleaded with her to be the first to integrate the high school there in my hometown. And she laid some demands on him, which I never found out, to my regret. She put some demands on him. He hemmed and hawed. He said, "Well, we'll talk about it later." So he came back, and she kept insisting, and finally he gave in. And she was the first Black teacher in this all white school, and the kids just fell in love with her.
Wonderful.
And that was just a grand thing.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful that your mother was such a role model for you and your family, and for society, no doubt, to chart new territory. Was she a teacher her whole life? Tell us a little bit about her life and her career.
Yeah, she was a teacher her whole life. Uh, it's not a strange thing, but an unusual thing. My father was also a teacher his whole life. My father got a job as a principal of a segregated, of course, elementary school in her hometown,
Mm.
Barnwell, South Carolina. She was a student, So that's how he met her.
Mm.
So somehow or another, they got together, and she in those days, I think a high school student could teach in certain schools,
Mm.
and they got married, and I got that story. It's a very interesting story about how they got married and all. But anyway, uh, he hired her when she came of age as a teacher after she finished high school. And after that, we moved to my hometown. And she continued her education. She got a master's degree in education from South Carolina State College. And then she taught her whole life, about 40 years. And when I went home after my Army career, uh, children would just come by from years ago and just thank her for what she did and what she taught
Wonderful.
to them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Amazing mother, amazing family, amazing stories, all captured in this wonderful book. It is called An Intriguing Heritage, the story of how the Dowdys and their kindred stood up to life. It is a powerful book that weaves together remarkable stories of resilience, love, and perseverance in the face of adversity, showcasing the unique legacy of one family that defied social norms and created lasting impacts. The story of the Dowdy family is the story of America, and it's a story you should read, understand, and share with your family. Harry, thank you
So,
so much for joining me here today on Spotlight. Is there something you want to add?
yeah, just two things. In my book, I have a lot of adages I created, original ones, and two I wish to recite. There is no greater birthright than family history, no greater obligation than to convey it to our children. And the other one is family history brings together the scattered pieces of our identity.
Wonderful, wonderful. And particularly in the African American community, it's been tough sometimes researching and understanding the family history because records weren't necessarily kept of people who weren't free and so forth. So you've done a wonderful job of documenting, preserving, and sharing your family history. And I think if we dig into our family histories, we will all find amazing stories. And you found quite a few and that are complete standouts. So thank you so much for this great work. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on Spotlight.